Okay, so I'm just going to quickly explain how to actually use the surround sound system. Obviously, it's great fun to mix in surround because you don't just have 2 speakers to play with. You have 6, which is really amazing because you can make stuff go round, and you can really use the sub for some extra effects and things like that. And basically, you have a whole surround sound system to play with. So make good use of it. A few basic rules, though, with the mixing is that obviously quite a lot of the music is going to be layered with dialogue and other things. So you have to make sure there's space for that, and your music fits around it well. Mostly the dialogue is always in the center speaker, so use your center speaker quite sparingly, unless you're really 100% sure that there's not going to be any other dialogue or any other sounds when your music plays, in which case you can really make use of all the speakers quite freely. But as a rule of thumb, really just don't put too much into the center. It's similar with the LFE, with the sub. Basically, your music has to sound good if it's just plays out the front and not out of the sub. Because quite often in the dub, when they think you've put too much sort of material in the sub, they just don't like it, so they're just going to take it out. So you know, if they do that, make sure your music doesn't all of a sudden sound really thin because you rely on the sub too much for bottom end. I mean, as a rule of thumb, really don't ever put really anything into the sub unless you really want to create a big effect or a boom. So if you have a big bass drum or a big slamming sound that hits only once or twice, by all means put some of it in the sub. But don't sort of put your double basses or anything like that into the sub when they play all the time, because it really is only for special effects and special occasions. So use it sparingly, but then when you do, make sure you put a nice amount in there so people really know about it. The surround speakers, again, just be a little bit careful, because if you sort of put like percussive elements, or all of a sudden, you know, people sit in the cinema, and then if all of a sudden they hear a shaker or a drum or something coming from behind them, they might look around and say, well, Jesus, what is this? And it doesn't really fit. So, you know, again, with the surround, it's more to create an atmosphere. So into the surround, I usually put obviously the ambience mics from the orchestra, but also reverbs and sometimes little drones and effects and things like that. But again, just be a bit careful and don't overuse the surround speakers. I mean, they're really there to create the atmosphere, but not to sort of carry the main music. You know, that's done at the front, and the main speakers behind the screen, that's really where you want to hear most of your music. So just bear that in mind. But having said that, you can be a bit creative, and like I say, sometimes it's nice having something going round or having little delays in the surround speakers and just little sounds to make it interesting. And but obviously, you know, all your 5.1 reverbs will be part of the entire system, so also that's in the surrounds, and that's going to create your big atmosphere. So reverb is fine in the surrounds as long as it's within reason. So yeah, that's really all I've got to say about panning for now. So that's the end of our panning chapter, which was quite short, that you'll be pleased to hear. So let's move on now to the actual mixing.